The Winds and Waves starters was just revealed, and I was thinking, what typings are they going to have? I was talking about this on my reaction to everything, but let's go over it way deeper this time. Of course, first of all, Winds and Waves is based on in Southeast Asia. But of course, the Pokémon doesn't need to have inspiration from the place. It doesn't have to be from the region that it's based off of. It can be something else, as long as it's a little bit related, of course. But let's start out with Brout, the grass type. And this is very interesting, because it says that it's only grass type on the website, which means it's not going to be flying type. I didn't think it was going to be flying type from what it looked like, but that basically confirms that it's probably not going to be flying type. The name is clearly from Eyebrow and Sprout. As you can see, it has these angry birds type of eyebrows. And in the video where I react to everything, I said that it was going to be grass fighting. And I was thinking of sumo wrestlers, because it looks like it can turn into a sumo wrestler. It has this round figure to it, and I wouldn't want it to turn into anything like the Decidueye. So I was thinking more of a round, fluffy, big sumo wrestler. And similar to this big, round Angry Bird. But green, of course. And some more details. I've also seen people talk about it being grass ground, which would contradict my guess on the fire starter. I said it was going to be fire ground, or that was my guess in the video, but that has changed a little bit. But like I said, people said it's going to be grass ground, or guessed that it's going to be grass ground. And that's because of the whole Sprout aspect, and that it kind of makes sense that it would be ground. So half of the body would be kind of the ground, and the rest of it would be the Sprout, or yeah, the part of it that is growing, you know? But that's really all people have said and what I found. And I still think it would be really cool if it was fighting, because it looks tough. It looks like it's ready to fight. And it looks like it wants to fight with its leg, here in the official art. And on the website they call him clumsy. And in my opinion that could work very well with his sumo wrestler body and style, you know? Where the middle evolution is struggling with the clumsiness and how big it is, and then the final evolution is using its clumsiness to fight. But it's a fighting starter then. And I don't really want any more fighting starters, especially not grass fighting right now. With both Hisui and Decidueye and Mega Chestnut. And then just in general, we have had a lot of fighting type starters. So I really wouldn't mind if it was ground. I think it would be really cool, but I can't really come up with anything more. And yeah, both ground and fighting make sense to me, at least so far from what we know. Then we have Pombon. Pombon is of course a Pomeranian, I think that's how you say it, and Bonfire. Or at least that's what the name is based off of. And the dog is clearly a Pomeranian. And like I said previously in the video, I said in the reaction video that I was guessing it was going to be fire ground. And now with the grass thing, you know, it doesn't make that much sense. But if the grass one is fighting, this can still be ground. But I no longer 100% agree, and I started thinking more just right after saying that, just looking at the starters more. And then I said, because it's a dog, it likes digging around in the ground. And it would be really cool how it became more muddy, a lot of mud on the dog, you know, when it evolves. And from what I understand, looking it up, Pomeranians like to dig in the ground more than some other dog species. But obviously there are other dogs that like it way more. And I would just love, you know, a ground type fire starter, you know. And I would also love ground type for this fluffy dog, so the fluffy hair gets a little bit of mud on it as it evolves. And if it's based on a bonfire, you know, the dog could be the ground and the fire on top of its head can be the flame from the bonfire, from whatever coming up from it. But I also think it could be Fire Fairy or Fire Steel. And the more I think about it, I almost agree with those more. I looked it up, and Bonbons is a snack, and Bonbons sounds very similar to Pombon. And I'm pretty sure that there is a chance that Pombon might be based off of that as well, or at least the name. It could be a combination of all three. And there's a lot of fairy type that are food based and food related. And right after I made that video, I thought about it and was like, that would make sense because it looks a little bit like Dachsbun, or at least it reminds me of Dachsbun in a way. It's hard to explain how, and the only thing I can explain it in is saying that it looks tasty. And that sounds weird, it's not like I would want to eat them, but that's the only way I can explain it, so hope you understand. And it does look food related. That's what I realized after like watching the trailer and after making the video and seeing the Pokemon more. I was like, it does look a little food related. I've also seen people say that they think it will turn into a food dog statue. And not to confuse with me talking about food earlier, I'm talking about food. And these people are thinking it will be fairy type because it's a mythical creature. But that is sort of what Arcanine is based off, or at least the Hisuian form. And maybe as well a little bit Entei. And I wouldn't mind it, but I think it's a little dumb to have another dog being similar to that sort of mythical creature. Especially when it's fire type. It would be way cooler with a completely other type. So I would rather not it be based on that, but it could still, the fairy type could still work with the food thing that I talked about. And then we have steel type. And again here, right after the presentation I thought of this, that in my opinion, the head and the face looks a little bit like a shield and reminds me of Samacenta. And if they want to go for type balancing and it's gonna be steel, fire, you know, if Sprout is a grass ground, that could work, because of course ground is good against steel and fire, but yeah. And it works as well with fighting. And then on the website it says that the area under its throat is glowing, which reminds me of an oven. And I think that's sort of what it's supposed to resemble. And that could work for both steel and fairy with like the food related stuff. Because it could be a steel shield oven thing. And the fairy type could just be an oven that's sort of baking itself, you know. But this could also work with the bonfire idea. Because the glow can be the ember that is at the bottom of a bonfire or campfire. And I think all of these would make sense, especially when it could evolve into another dog, but still in the Spitz family. Sorry, Spitz family. I said that wrong. Spitz is a dog family that the Pomeranians are in. Or like, yeah, the type of dog. If you watched this far, please feel free to subscribe and like the video. Let's continue with the video. Also, just a quick thing, I'm not the smartest person, so take everything related to like real life or every like thing I say with a little bit of a grain of salt. I have obviously looked at Google, but like, yeah, just don't trust everything on the internet. Even me. So if I'm wrong on anything, I'm sorry, and let me know in the comments. And then we have Gekwa, which is based off of obviously a gecko and aqua, or like the name is, and obviously the Pokemon as well. And I say poison, because in my opinion it looks like a Pokemon that would be poison type, or like would turn into a poison type. And it's based on a gecko with this big tail, and actually they can lose this tail and then grow it back. And maybe in a way in the evolution they can later on like have it as a poison gun of some sort, where they shoot poison from it, of course. And on the website it says that they launch balls of water from the tail. And maybe it could also do that with poison. But geckos are not actually poisonous. So I looked up what water related lizards existed. And I found Asian water monitor, I think that's how you say it, and then Komodo dragons. And these are both from Southeast Asia. So if they combine the whole gecko aspect and then with one of those lizards, it could work as a poisonous evolution, or like, yeah, a poison type in its later evolution. Obviously it's a Pokemon and dogs aren't on fire, so it could still work with poison anyway. But I did also realize that maybe another type would make sense. On the website it says that it's intelligent. And if you look at its big head, it does look like an intelligent Pokemon. It also reminds me of Grey Matter from Ben 10, so it might be psychic type. And if we're going to the tail again, I think the tail should be a part of the final design, or like, yeah, a part of the whole design. But I'm not really sure how they would have that with the psychic type, except for maybe that you would be like, you know, floating on the tail in a way, you know, with the psychic powers. But I don't really see how that would also make sense without launching, like, you know, these water balls from its tail. That makes me think that I don't really know how they would make a psychic of this one. They obviously could just do the whole design without the tail and psychic type without the tail. But I think that they will include the tails, especially when the tail seems like a big part of the first stage. So I'm not sure which one it would be here as well, but I'm still leaning a little bit again to the poison. It's just the whole thing that geckos aren't poisonous. But like I said, dogs aren't on fire, so it could still work very well. Also, I would want poison, and maybe I'm a little biased, but I think both would work. And I would probably like both as well. I do want to pick the water starter, so I hope they don't fumble the final evolution. And those are the types I think that would work for the starters. And of course I can't guarantee that it will be any of these, but I think it's gonna be at least one of these for each of them. Please let me know your opinions on this, and if you have any typings you would say that they would turn into. I would love to hear your opinion on that. And please let me know if you agree with me. But other than that, you can watch a video right here where I show all the Pokemons that are confirmed to come back in Winds and Waves. So please consider watching that. But other than that, I hope to see you there or in a future video. So have a great rest of your night, day, morning, or wherever. Peace out, and don't forget to follow.